So first off, for those people who might be unfamiliar, just give me some background on who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay, I am a fabricator, a builder. My name is Jimmy DiResta. I've been making things my whole life, and I'm always proud to say that I've only ever made things for money. I never had a paper out. I never worked as a cashier. I never worked serving coffee. I never did anything other than make things for money. In the beginning, it started out as working at sign shops. Really early on, working for my dad, helping my dad. My dad was always a handyman and a carpenter, so I always worked with my dad doing handyman carpentry stuff. I kind of learned early on how to deal with people because that's what my dad did all the time, always inside someone's house, helping them fix something, build something, and I was always his helper. And then as I got older, I started working for other carpenters and doing some sign work. And in high school, I worked at sign shops. And then when I got into college, I always did a little bit of work for myself. I was always kind of a freelancer one way or another. People are always like, oh, if you can do that, can you do that for me? Mm-hmm. I only need you to do that one thing. So I started learning early on about being a freelancer. Mm-hmm. Just because people said, hey, can you do that for me? I was like, sure. And sign shops in high school. And then after high school, I worked at a florist in high school and then also a sign shop. And at the florist, I was like the handyman. When they needed like any kind of like a wedding trellis or anything, I would build it. Oh, wow. Or the owner of the shop, because he knew I was good with tools, so he would buy parts and I would make the wedding trellis. And it was an early learning, proving ground to try and figure out things fast. And there's a whole science to making things that don't need to live forever. They just need to look cool. Mm-hmm. So, and then when I was in college, I worked at another more elaborate, bigger florist, and they would do big parties. And so I was in the art department. So you think just flowers, but not only did they have flowers, they had a full-on art department. So if there was going to be a themed party, very rarely were there themed weddings, but they were themed like bar mitzvahs and, the Sweet 16s and all these fancy parties. I lived in a part of Long Island which was fairly wealthy, and I worked for this florist, and all the rich people would go there and throw big parties for their kids. And I was in the art department there, so that was through art school. Okay. So I can keep rambling, but is there any other
No, that's great. So you've basically been doing this your whole life.
Yeah, I really have. I've been in the workshop. I've been using the bandsaw since I'm about 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, wow. So this is just basically second nature to you. This is ingrained in who you are.
One of my final classes at School of Visual Arts was a toys and games class, and because I had spent so much time growing up, like being inventive, the teacher recognized that in me, and he encouraged me. And so from 90 till 2008, I got into the toy business, and I was inventing and designing toys.
That's pretty cool.
For a lot of that time. So it was a really good proving ground for me to think on my feet. When I worked at the florist at the florist, they would give us, say, like $30,000 and say, make 10 props, make them as expensive looking as you can, and try not to spend all that money. And so like that is a really good training ground for them when I got into the toy business, making things and having to make them cost effective and fun and interesting to use. And so it was, is that your phone or mine? Was that mine? Did my phone just do that? Oh, wow. Kidding. I'm hearing it through the microphone. So the toy business was a really great proving ground for me. And then now that I'm in YouTube, I kind of have like all that marketing experience, package design, logo design, graphic design, branding. I went to so many trade shows, and if like I had some sort of gadget that I was trying to sell that year, I would try and promote it personally, either through to buyers or to somebody that might potentially buy it from me as a licensed product. So I was always, and it's kind of partly kind of where it's my affinity for writing my name on stuff was born, because I was always constantly promoting something. Like every trade show, I had a little gimmick to give to somebody for some reason or another, just so they would remember me.
Yeah.
And so now with YouTube, it's like, hey, watch my channel. Everybody's got their own little network, and you're constantly trying to promote your own network.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess you've been doing this your whole life. When would you consider, I guess, your transition sort of into this influencer role or into the world of YouTube, where you're influencing all these people?
Well, another interesting thing is I've been teaching my whole life. So I've been on a small scale. I've been influencing since I started teaching in 92,
Okay.
93, I forget when I started. 94 is when I started teaching. So I started teaching at the School of Visual Arts where I graduated from, and I only just recently stopped. This would have been my last semester was this past spring. So I would be in school right now. It's my first semester not in school. So at 23 years I've been teaching. And in those 23 years, I really was able to affect a lot of students in a good way. A couple of my students are semi-famous. My most proudest student is Nick Bilton. He works at the Vanity Fair. He's a big news reporter at Vanity Fair, but he's always an artist. And so early on, he inspired me to get my first computer. So I learn a lot back and forth from my students. And so every year there's always students that kind of change their entire life's direction because of the class that I taught and the things that I showed them that are possible. So that's always been such a great feeling. And now on YouTube, since I started doing YouTube in 2011, really focusing. I had a channel for 5 years, but I did nothing with it until I worked on a TV show, and the TV show came and went so quickly with no control.
Right.
And my girlfriend suggested that I was doing all these TV show pitches. She said, why don't you just do those TV show pitches, but for yourself once a week? So I started doing that, and it was liberating, to say the least.
Mm.
And now I get these emails all the time from people that say my life has changed in one way or another because of what you do and what the community is doing. And, I have a podcast, so a lot of times it includes me and my podcast mates because people hear the podcast, and, we kind of talk pretty frankly about how to and what to, and, everything that goes along with it. Life, business, banking, all that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, it seems like once you kind of started working for yourself, so to speak, with YouTube and your podcast, you've just kind of blown up. You've grown so quickly. You have.
Oh, thank you. It doesn't feel like it, but I appreciate that from an outside.
No, you're huge.
Thank you.
Over a million on YouTube. That's something that a lot of people strive for and they never get it. So that's awesome.
Right. Thank you.
How, if at all, has your personal life changed or your professional life since sort of developing this influencer role?
Well, it's nice to be. The other day I was in Fab Tech and I went for a walk with a pocket full of business cards, and I just walked into every brand that I like. I said, I make things. I use tools on YouTube. If you want me to use your tools, do research, call me. And I just walked in and out of every booth with like an air of confidence that I haven't had in a long time.
Awesome.
And the one thing that early on at Fab Tech, which was the event that took place in Chicago, I started having people walk into the booth. I mean, I was there to meet fans, so of course we promoted the hell out of it. It was me and 5 other YouTubers, and we all cross-promoted it to our fan base, and we all have a lot of the same fans, but each one of us has the people that come to see us specifically. And one thing I was impressed with most when I was at Fab Tech was guys would come in, they work at some giant corporation, and they just come in like a fanboy to see me. And I say, like, what is that name on your lapel? Because they're all geared up because they're at the show too. And they're like, oh, I sell lasers. And I go, what kind? Oh, the lasers we sell like $500,000 each. I'm like the regional salesman. And like, so there's a guy like in a big position of power.
Yeah.
And he just wants a fanboy out because he knows what I do and he wants to see me. Like a guy from Air Gas, which is a big company that sells welding gas and welding stuff. He came up, he was so fanboying me out. It was really funny. He was like a little boy. He was like a big older guy, kind of overweight, and he's like a total Midwestern sales guy, but he was like, man, I really appreciate what you do. And it was really nice. And I went over to his booth and talked to him for a few minutes. But so it's funny. Like, I think I'm just going to meet, nerds like me that work in the basement that want to come and say hello, but it's all these guys from all over the world. And
Yeah.
And women came up to me and said they really love what I do. And, some women come up to me and said, my husband would die if he knew that I was here. So can we just do a selfie? So I got said, because they're in industry that's there, but he's not, because he's not in the company, but she is.
Yeah.
And they're on location because they're at Fab Tech. So it was a lot of fun meeting those people and hearing like firsthand that I'm affecting. And like I said, for the first time, I realized so every booth I walked into, it's funny. People are either like, "Oh my God, Jimmy, what's up? I'm so glad you came in my booth," or like kind of being like cool and collected. And then I go, "Oh, I make things on YouTube. Maybe, take a look at my channel." And the guy goes, "Yeah, you're the guy that made the AK-47." I think I've seen one of your videos, and after 3 minutes, he's like, "I really liked when you made that thing into this other thing." Like he knows everything about me, but he's being cool.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, so it was
like
fun.
You're a celebrity.
I guess so. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, you're a
funny.
YouTube celebrity. How does that feel? That's crazy.
It's not. It's nice to be. It's nice to be recognized for what you're comfortable doing.
Exactly.
It's like I could have gotten famous for other things because I've been on TV for a couple of different reasons, and most recently I'm going to be on NBC coming up. But it's nice to have like my own home base, which is completely dictated by me and my fans, and my fans love the certain things, and they give me feedback, and I try and it's obviously like a big slow moving ship, but I try and do like I started vlogging because my fans demanded it. One or two particularly kept bugging me, and so I was like, all right, let me try this. And in the beginning of that, everyone's like, oh man, just go back to making stuff. No one cares what you have to say. But now it's been a year, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm really happy to be. It's like gives me an opportunity to talk directly to people about things that are going on with me, and for me also to share. I really, because now people are paying attention. It's nice to be able to share. Hey, look at this new tool, or a friend of mine is struggling to get off the ground. Everyone go check out the channel. So it's nice to be able to share and give back.
Yeah, a bunch of cross promotion.
Yeah, I like it.
What would you say your biggest challenge is that you face as an influencer, as a YouTuber, as a woodworker?
The biggest challenge, honestly, as an influencer, let's just say, is trying to do a natural integration as far as doing like an influencer ad. I've done a couple DeWalt ads, which are pretty explicit, but I'm doing exactly what I would be doing otherwise. I've kind of demanded it. There's a couple times early on where I had to do a read or a script read for somebody.
Right.
And now part of my criteria is I said I'm not going to read a script. I mean, unless it's absolutely necessary, I'm not going to read a script. I'm certainly not going to do a talking head. I said absolutely no. I never ever do a talking head. If you do want me to read a script, it'll be over some good visuals that people will get some. So if you turned it off the audio, you could still get some takeaway, because fans are going to turn the audio off anyway. I mean, if it's annoying.
Yeah.
To them. So I recently just had a negotiation with somebody where they wanted a certain number for a certain amount of time. I was like, that time is like, it's like an hour. People are going to tune away instantly. They wanted me to do at least a 5-minute integration, which basically meant I was going to do a 5-minute video of me talking about their brand. And I was like, I can't do it. I said, I just can't do it. People are going to just tune right out. I said, I'll do a 2-minute one, and I want the same money. They're like, no. If you're going to do a 2-minute one, we want half the money. I was like, no. A 2-minute one is going to have more potential potency because people are going to say, all right, he's only going to talk about this for 2 minutes. I'll hang in there. I said, so it's worth more money to me and you. And so I actually convinced them. They said, okay, cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it's funny. It's really hard turning these brands turning the brands into the YouTube environment, getting them to accustomed to the YouTube environment, because they won't think anything about putting $100,000 print ad in some trade magazine. That's like not even, because they've been accustomed to doing that. But it's like, give me $10,000 to talk about your thing to my 1 million fans. And they go, it's crazy. You're just making a little video in your house. But it's not worth it. I'll give you a free tool and $1,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, show me the ROI on that print ad. You can't even begin to show me the ROI on that print ad.
Right.
No one's clicking on anything in a magazine. Nowhere. Anything. I said, give me an affiliate link and give me 10 grand and a 1 minute, 2 minute mention in my video, and you'll be able to see the ROI instantly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing that now is turning. And that's, like I said, being at the show and so many people, and I've had a couple of half-start conversations with people that just kind of don't go anywhere, or, you lose contact. And so this show, I walked into a couple of those booths, and the conversation just kicks right back to like, hey, how come we don't talk anymore? I'm like, well, so let's go. Let's get started.
Yeah, exactly. Let's
show me the money.
So it sounds like you do all of your own PR and marketing and
pretty much, yeah,
all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a reason why you do it yourself? Do you prefer to do it yourself?
I've just always been working. I've just always been on my own. I have an agent, but everything comes to me.
Okay.
And then I give it to the agent. And that's only because I'm the face of my brand. Nobody knows. Like, nobody says, oh, this is Jimmy DiResta, let me go look up his people. Because no one knows how to find my people. I don't even know what their email is half the time. You gotta, like, Google an old... You're going to laugh. I have my agent's assistant written here on my laptop in magic marker because I can never remember her name. Because she's new. She's the newest one. Here's the new assistant every few months. So when I got to Google her name in my email to remember to talk to her about something. But...
I love it.
I mean, I have an agent now for about 18 months, and
Okay.
he's been good. So I send him, somebody will say, hey, would you be interested in doing this with us? And I'll send it to him, and then he works it out. And he's usually too expensive. I'm too expensive. And then they never call me back. And then I see him at a trade show, and they say, what happened to us? Why come we don't talk anymore? And that's usually what happens. But a lot of times people will contact me and say, hey, I'm willing to give you these free tools. And I don't even get my agent involved. I'm like, you know what? Send me the free tools. I'll play with them. I'll talk about them in the vlog if I like them, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's not like a full-on endorsement.
Right. So, okay, this is the perfect segue. So when you receive like pitch collaborations or, you know, paid posts or whatever, I mean, what turns you on to a pitch, or what do you look for? What catches your attention?
Something that I'm personally interested in, like for instance, like I do a lot of stuff with Lincoln now, and the Lincoln plasma cutting table. That's like a huge thing for me. I love cutting metal in that plasma. To me, it's like magic. So I'm always amazed when that process works well. So I'll over deliver for somebody that I like.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, like it doesn't. I don't have to get paid. People think I get paid every single time I hold up something that says DeWalt on it or Lincoln. I don't, but they pay me a considerable amount of money for a 10-minute video, and I get to keep the tools. So what am I going to hide them under the table? I mean, it's exactly what I want to use. So. I've been going through that today through my comment section. Everyone's like, oh, okay, is this a DeWalt commercial? Why? Because I use the DeWalt tool to do this.
Right.
Video. I mean, if you want it to be a DeWalt commercial, yeah, it's a DeWalt commercial, but it's not. I mean, they didn't pay me to do this video, but nobody believes me.
Right.
They think that there's some sort of subversive intent or some conspiracy theory, and like I'm in the Illuminati now. Because I used to paint my tools white, and now I don't because the company pays me, you know, considerable amount of money not to paint them.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'd rather keep it real and go load 6,000 pounds of plywood in the truck and keep my tools white. You know what? I'm growing up. I'm getting old. I want to earn money in an easy fashion. So I'd rather unpaint my tools and load a truck, which is what I would always go back to doing when I was struggling to make money.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably another challenge you face that people don't even realize is just because you're using a name brand, you like it. It's not necessarily that you're being paid. It's just, hey, I need to use this saw for this project.
It's funny. Casey Neistat is constantly has to put the disclaimer, this is not a paid endorsement. I just use this thing. It's just the thing I use. And if, you know, you're not constantly covering up logos and giving a disclaimer, people just automatically assume you get paid for every single thing you touch.
Right, right.
And I wish that was the case. I wish it was advertising and influencing was. I mean, I guess someone like Taylor Swift has to constantly consider something like that, or I mean, Casey obviously does have to consider that because he's such a techno dude and he's always showing new stuff. So if he's playing with a cool new camera just because he loves it, he's got to say, look, they didn't pay me. I'm going to give you an honest assessment that this iPhone 10 is not the greatest cool camera in the world, but.
Right.
And he does get paid by Samsung, so he's like, you know what? I'm using a cool Samsung, and they pay me, so.
Yeah. I think just, you know, being honest and, you know.
Being honest with your fans. I mean, I've been in the TV world, and now I'm in this world that we've all created for ourselves. And the TV world is cold, calculated, and there's, like, message boards. There's no, like, I get an email from a producer that says, hey, this person wants to know what jacket you were wearing in episode 5. Do you want his email? And, like, now... with the YouTube world, people say to me right away, they're like, you know, that's a cool jacket at, you know, 5:30 seconds. What jacket? And I go, oh, that's a Carhartt such and such. And it's not like I'm getting paid. I'm just happen to be wearing a jacket. Somebody wants to know what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. I just met with 3M. I used to work for 3M, and I might again work for 3M. But I always talk about one of their products that I like, and they always say, you know, we don't have an official deal anymore. Why do you keep talking about the product? I said, because my fans want to know. I said, I'm not going to keep it a secret from my fans. If it's the best choice to do what the job is, I'm going to say, you know, go get this. It's not an official endorsement. No one pays me. I buy mine on eBay. I don't get them for free anymore because I don't talk to them anymore.
Right, right.
But at the FabTech, they're like, you know, we notice you're always talking about this one particular product that you really like. I was like, because I like it and it works well.
Exactly.
They were like impressed, like, wow, really? I'm like, I'll talk about it more often if you want to pay me. That's what I said to them.
Right? I love it. Okay, so what?
But it's a balance. You constantly, balancing against, being the ultimate sellout. Or,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
And anytime I do any kind of paid endorsement, I'm sure people are bailing on me. I get unsubscribed. So it's like they only show you how much people subscribe. And if that subscription rate that daily slows down, it's because people are unsubscribing. So they don't. I mean, there are statistical web pages where you can go and see how many people left and came in a day. But I never go look at that. It kind of bums you out if you start getting too detailed into the numbers. But there is a action reaction. I lost you. You're frozen, so I'll wait till you come back. Oh, there you go.
Oh, our internet's so slow.
All right. Yeah, you're coming back. There you are.
Okay. So have you ever been working on a collaboration and you realized this isn't for me or I don't want to do it?
Yeah, those have happened.
How did you respond?
I just fade away like the Cheshire Cat. You just fade away.
You just ghost them?
Yeah, I ghost them. I just stop answering emails, and I have I have the ability to say I got super busy, so and nobody calls me on that. It's like
well, that's easy.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that too often, but there's been a lot of collaborations with other YouTubers that we get into it with good intentions, and all of a sudden we realize we're all just so busy. No one really has the time to focus on anything outside of what we owe our fans, So the collaborations, for them to work out, are rare, and there's no ill will. I mean, I'm supposed to do this collaboration with 4 people, and it hasn't materialized, but I still love every one of them and support them in any way. So, and we all do these collaborations to try and help each other out, and we're doing that anyway because I'll constantly mention them in my daily conversations because I like them and I appreciate what they do, and we don't have to have a collaboration to enforce that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is I guess something, let's say if there were, PR professionals at DeWalt who wanted to pitch something to you, pitch an idea to you, what you would like them to know before they send you a pitch or send you an idea?
I'm not going to read a script on camera. I'm not going to. Yeah. If it's hokey, I'll just say, look, guys, I know my fans. It's like, this is like maybe an overdrawn metaphor, but my fans are like my children, and I know what they want to eat, and I know what they're not going to want to eat, and they're not going to want to eat vegetables. I'm not going to feed them vegetables. Doesn't matter. My girlfriend's laughing at me because I don't eat vegetables. But
you would know, right?
Right? I mean, yeah, absolutely. And people say, "Oh, read this script and then do this and then do a unboxing." I was like, "I'm not doing an unboxing. I don't care. I'm not doing a product review." You see these people that I was talking about the other day, like, the cord is like a little, and then I don't really like the way this screw works. I'm like, who cares? Just use the tool. If it does what it's supposed to do, like like it could be a Mercedes-Benz or it could be a Festool. Yeah. Everything's hitting at like 98%. You're going to have a lemon in the pile. And so no matter what it is. And people will find the lemon and like pick apart someone's good intentions. And
exactly.
I'm not going to pick apart someone's good intentions. If somebody wants to send me a tool, I'll use it and I'll say thanks. That's it. You make up your own mind. I mean, if it's dangerous and it's going to hurt somebody or poke their eye out, I probably just won't show it on camera.
Exactly. Just edit it out.
Yeah.
I love it. You're so authentic and you're so
thank you.
BS. Like, that's amazing. And I feel like a lot of influencers get really caught up in the here's a product and
oh my God, yeah.
So it's refreshing to just hear you, say you're not going to do that and that's not who you are.
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm lucky enough where I could go and build something for any one of my clients and make the same amount of money and being offered to do an influencer ad that I'm afraid might damage my audience, my relationship with my audience. So when someone comes to me and says, would you do an ad for this drone? I'm like, well, I'm not a drone guy, really.
Yeah.
I'm not really, and I'm not going to sit there and say, this is the best drone ever made because it's just not me, so I wouldn't do that. Even though the money might be good. I've been offered lots of money to talk about gaming stuff.
Oh.
And I said, the only way I'll do gaming stuff is if you want me to make like one of the weapons from the game. I'll do that because it works for men at arms. But I said, I'm not going to read a script about a gaming something or other.
Right.
That's not my thing. Like, my fans know I'm not a gaming nerd or a YouTube nerd or a Star Wars nerd. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I famously know nothing about Star Wars. My fans always joke about it because on my podcast, my podcast mate is a big Star Wars nerd. So I just jokingly pick on him. I'm like, oh, the new Star Wars is out. You see it? And like, I'll say some reference from like the 70s. I'll be like, no, that's the old one.
He's like, that's not right.
yeah, because I'll be that's the only one I know is the one that was in the movie theaters when I was 7 years old.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just wrapping things up.
Sure.
What advice would you give to someone who's maybe you 10 years ago, who's just starting out, who, wants to be super influential but doesn't know where to start?
I would say just keep it easy breezy and don't expect money to come rolling through the door right away, because I see a lot of YouTubers, and we just did a subject podcast about this. They get like 1,000 subscribers and they go, hey, can anybody recommend, can you give me the phone number to the guys at Lincoln? I'm like, they don't care about you. They're not going to care about you until people really start when your fans call up Lincoln and say, you really should do something with this guy. That's when the time is right. That's when the food is done. Not before that. It's when your fans start knocking on brands for you. That's actually, if you wait till then, when your fans start recommending the brands to call you, then that's when life will start to get a little bit easier for you in the influencer world. And that's what you want. I mean, you could talk about a product and say, you know what? I use iPhone all the time. To me, it's what I know. It's what I love.
Right.
And, and if I was someone like Casey that constantly needed to use my phone in conversation on camera, then we would say, how come you don't, like, a perfect example is I always wear a Rolex. And a Rolex was a gift I got about 15, 17 years ago. It's beat up. I wear it if you looked at it up close, it looks like it was dragged behind a car. And everybody's like, how come you don't have a deal with Rolex? I said, because no one's answering my emails. But if you email Rolex, my fans, then they'll start to be like, hey, I bought a Rolex because Jimmy DiResta wears a Rolex in his workshop. And that hasn't happened yet, but that's how I got Lincoln. That's how I got SawStop. That's how I got DeWalt. My fans pushing on the brands, saying, you should pay attention to this guy because he's living a life beside yours, and you should really acknowledge that.
Right.
And
right.
so the biggest thing is you got to wait for the brands to come to you. You can't go knocking on the door because the only thing they're going to say to you is, here's a free tool. Thanks for using our tools. But if they come to you with a budget, an advertising budget, then all of a sudden they're like, is $20,000 enough for you to do an ad? I'm like, no, it might be. Well, let me discuss it with my people. But, a year ago, I would have taken a free tool from them.
Yeah.
But now, because my fans are pushing on them, and like, it's just, there's like so much more hubbub about, a video that I may have done, or just, my brand in general, my channel.
Yeah.
And this is also, again, being at the show. Like, so many people I met. My son is a huge fan of yours. Do you mind if I take a picture? And I'm talking to like the regional sales manager of some giant die cutting company that has probably $1 billion in the bank. I'm like, yeah, of course. My son is a huge fan of yours. And so that's how the influencers really start to, when this is a funny thing. It's always the graphic designer.
Oh, yes.
Or the art department guy at a company that likes me, that will tell his boss. Another case in point is, I got an email from IKEA. They said, will you come to our employee retreat? It would have happened in August. It didn't happen because of money. They were offering a very low fee. And they said, would you come? Where is IKEA? Where is it? Sweden? Where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. They said, will you come for 4 days and you'll do a whole lecture Q&A day 1, and day 2 you'll work with all our guys in the workshop, our designers. It was really for the staff that create the stores. It wasn't for the actual furniture design team. It would have been for the staff that lays out the store. Okay. And they design the actual stores. And you would work with them for a day in their shop, and this way they make all the prototype stores. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I said, how did you come to pick me? They go, well, we asked our staff if we had a special person come and hang out with you for 2 days, who would it be? And they picked me. I was like popular demand. A lot of the guys said, you got to get him. And so financially it didn't work out. They were offering too low. For me to spend 4 days in Switzerland or wherever the hell it is, I said $25,000, and they said the most we have is $5,000. And I'm like, I get that. I'll get that tomorrow working on a piece of furniture for somebody. I won't have to leave my neighborhood or my house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
We just didn't come to terms, and that happens, and it's, you know, it's no hard feelings. It's just they didn't have the money, and people might say someone like IKEA's got billions of dollars, but you got to remember these companies have little divisions, and the divisions are allotted a certain amount of money, and that's it. You know, it's not like it's not like Mr. IKEA's writing the check. It's like whoever's heads that very specific division. And I learned this working with 3M. They have 700 divisions, and every division is given an allowance, and that allowance goes to influencers. And if there's enough there for me, then it's good. If there's not, I just say, you know, thanks, but I'm going to have to move on from this particular situation.
Right, exactly.
And there's no hard feelings, because like I'm never going to go on camera and say, these guys cheated me. It doesn't matter, because there's always, you know, it's like they say about dating, you know, there's always another bus coming down the road, and that's another brand that just loves what you're doing and wants to work out with you. And it could always be the competition. Exactly. The minute a deal doesn't work out with somebody, I go right to the competition, and I can't cite any specific examples, but that's like a perfect opportunity. You say, hey, the green company wanted me, but, you know, I'm more willing to, the blue company. Do you want to work with me? Right. Okay.
Exactly. So, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, it is, and you just gotta create. The bottom line is, for anybody, I mean, you're talking to a group of students. Is that who you're talking to?
Yes.
What is the class?
So it's influencer relations. So their degree is public relations. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I mean, that can encompass actually being the ones pitching, or the ones who want to go and start blogging, or, you know, a whole plethora of different things.
Right.
Well, the bottom line is, one of my mentors growing up from about 15 years ago, who we worked. He sold my first TV show. He's a manager agent named Barry Katz. You can do some research on him. He's very famous behind the scenes in the comedy scene, and he has a podcast called Industry Standard. From the minute I met Barry, he always says, "Just be undeniable, and you will not be denied." And if you make good content, whether it's you're blogging about something interesting, or whether you're doing some great visuals, or you're a good photographer. Mm-hmm. Make good content, and you will get recognized. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is, you'll know if you're getting good content when you're getting big numbers. And I always say, like, there's another metaphor. When you start your YouTube channel or your blog or something, and you're getting comments from people that love you, that's because you're still in the inlet. You're in like the warm, safe environment of the inlet of, like, you know, where you're comfortable, and your friends and family and your neighbors are, oh man, wow, that's really great. But as you start getting bigger numbers, you start moving out into the ocean. And when you're in the middle of the sea, and you're getting comments like, you should go kill yourself, die. Like, when you get comments like that, that means you're getting bigger numbers, and the whole entire world is starting to watch. You understand what I'm saying? It's like you're in the deep end of the ocean now. And you're only getting, when you, like, the minute I put a video out and I start getting good comments and bad comments, like within the first day, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a viral video. Because there's something controversial about it that's striking a chord really positive or really negative with somebody. So that's when you're getting out of the inlet into the deep parts of the ocean.
Right.
And so I jokingly say with my podcast, people go, you should go kill yourself. I mean, that's like the worst YouTube comment you might get. Those are always in the filter. But that's just someone that just really knows what you're doing is good, and they're jealous. It really is. You're striking a nerve within someone, and they're going, well, I should be doing that, but, you know, I'm damaged for some reason or another, so I'm just going to say something negative. And it's very transparent, but they don't think so.
Right.
So when you start getting comments good and bad, that's when you know you're really striking a chord with somebody. And I always say, in the influencer business, you're only just one big viral video away from getting good traction.
Yeah.
Like, it's important to just put out good content at the bottom line, whether it's a good song. You know, some people just lie to themselves and they don't realize what they're making is not catching on. So you gotta know. I mean, I've seen YouTubers start off slow and not get anywhere, and then change their path and try a couple different things, and then they start getting traction. You know, so sometimes it's just a natural thing. Like for me, I just started making videos and it just started working. But I have a couple duds out there. You know, people say kill yourself in the comment section early on.
That's horrible. I can't.
No, I know. That's just the YouTube world. And another bit of advice is, if people start doing that, just look at it comically. Don't take it personal. I know a lot of YouTubers have like bailed or turned comments off because they can't stand them. But if you're striking a chord with somebody, it's, you know, it's a good or bad. It's good.
Okay, so that was the interview with Jimmy DiResta. Be sure to check him out on YouTube under Jimmy DiResta.